welcome to this onlinearbitragedeals.com video. So in today's video, I want to show you a beginner's guide to analysing an online arbitrage deal. Now, let's just say that you've got this deal from onlinearbitragedeals.com, and it then comes time to you to do your analysis and decide whether you think it's a good product to buy. So here's me talking you through my thinking in terms of what I would do to analyse a deal. So I'd click through to the Amazon page, and obviously I'm going to use BuyBotPro to do my analysis because that's the tool that I think is best. And you'd enter your buy price here. So let's just say we could get this product for £10, just as an example. You click Analyse, and then BuyBotPro has analysed the deal for you. So let me talk you through what the key points that I would look for when I was analysing a deal. So obviously the most important thing to look for is, can you sell it? Because, you know, if you can't sell it, then there's no point in going any further unless you can get it ungated quite easily. Then obviously you should. So the first thing to look at is, can you sell it? So the eligibility is yes, not hazmat, I'm eligible to sell it, and it's not part of anything to do with dangerous goods. Great, first tick. So next one, I would come down and I would have a look at the score. So straight away, I'd have a look at the BuyBotPro confidence score. And that's because the BuyBotPro confidence score is bringing in lots of different elements into analysing your deal. So it gives you a really quick look at whether it's worth investigating it further. Because BuyBotPro looks at thousands of different data items when it analyses a deal. So it's already checked loads of stuff for me to tell me that it's a good deal at that price. So then I'd look in a little bit more detail. So you've got your ROIs, great ROI, great profit, all good. I'd check the IP radar and make sure that that was green or possibly yellow, and then do some extra due diligence, because you have to be really careful with IP that it's not going to cause an issue on your account. So if the IP radar in BuyBotPro comes up as green, that's great. If it comes up as red, please don't sell that product. It means that our sister company GetUnsuspended.com knows that that particular brand causes issues in your account. So it's really not worth even giving it a go. Not worth your Amazon account. If it's yellow, then it means that you have to do your own due diligence, because it means there are some red flags. We can't say for sure you absolutely can't sell it, but there are some red flags that you need to check out. So for instance, you need to make sure, you need to go and see how many FBA sellers are on a listing. You need to see if those FBA sellers have been consistently on a listing, because if not, then it could be that Amazon have booted everybody off the listing. So if there's not lots of other sellers on the listing, then you want to be really careful with that, because that will mean that potentially there was an IP issue. So if you come down to the charts and you've got the numbers of sellers here, if you suddenly see a really big drop, I mean, that one's not quite such a big drop, but if you saw a really big drop in the new offer count, this is the blue line along here, you know, there's little drops here, but there's no big drop. But if you suddenly saw a really big drop, I'd absolutely be careful and continue to do more due diligence, because that might mean that Amazon booted everybody off the listing. You should also check whether they've got a trademark, and you can check that by going to Google and typing in UK or US trademark. And there's the way you can check that online if they've got some sort of trademark. You need to make sure that the images that are used are not copyrighted. So that can sometimes cause an issue, but most of the time that will come up as red on BuyBot, or at least orange on BuyBotPro. So it will give you a good idea if that's the case. And if that is the case, then potentially you just need to take your own photos of the product before you send it in. But the chances are you won't need to do that. That's fairly extreme in OA terms. So if you're brand new to online arbitrage, and I'll just suggest you stick with green whilst you're learning. But once you've got more experience, then you can go to the yellow and do your own due diligence, but please stay away from the red. So the other thing I'd quickly check was the oversize. Make sure it wasn't a really big thing that's going to cost me a lot of money to ship into Amazon. That's unlikely. And the buy box analysis. So this tells you whether Amazon share the buy box. And here it's okay. It's saying that there's not enough data to tell us whether they share the buy box. So we're going to go and have a look at that in a minute and make a decision. But on the face of it, it looks like potentially it could be a good deal. So you come down and have a look at the estimated sales. So it's selling fairly well. It has times when it doesn't sell quite so well, but it's selling relatively well. And then I would continue to come down here. You've got your competition analysis. Now, Amazon have got 1,000 of them in stock. So we need to have a look and see how often like Amazon are sharing that buy box, because remember up here it said that there wasn't really enough data to work out whether Amazon are sharing that buy box. So we need to have a look for ourselves. So that's my concern with this product, that are Amazon going to share that buy box? So let's go and have a look. So I'd come over here and look at the BuyBotPro chart, and the first thing I'd probably do is go over to 360. So in the last year, you can see that Amazon have been out of stock for about 6 weeks or so in the last year. So most of the time they are in stock. So let's have a look at this buy box and let's see what the situation is. So I've just picked that random date there, 21st of November 2020. You can see that the buy box was at $49.31 and Amazon's price was $49.31. So chances are Amazon had that buy box at that time. So if we just keep going and have a look at that. So then you've got the buy box at Amazon was at $38.74. And then you've got the buy box there at $48.81 at 15:40 in the afternoon. Buy box at $33.99 at 6:34 in the morning. And the buy box at $48.81 at 4 o'clock in the morning. So we can see if Amazon at $38.74, there was times where they shared that buy box because their price is different to the prices that the buy box was. So the chances are that they were sharing that buy box with other sellers. So we can keep looking. There you've got an example of Amazon's on the listing and in the buy box. So there you've got an example. What's that one? $48.80. Yep, they're in the buy box there as well. $49.99. Yep, they're in the buy box there as well. So I think my thinking about this was I might buy 1 or 2 of them. Yes, BuyBotPro's right. Potentially it is a deal, but I'd need to be able to make sure I've got enough profit in the deal to be able to go near Amazon's price, because at this point Amazon's going bonkers low. So the buy box is at $28.99. So that they've probably shared that with a MF seller because, maybe not. Maybe Amazon have taken that buy box. Maybe they took that buy box lower because the buy box is $28.99. Amazon's price is $32.71. So that might have been Amazon just selling it off a bit low. But you can have a look all the way through and check the buy box prices against the price of the other sellers, and you can see. Now what we can see here is if we look at the FBA price, so let's turn all these off for a minute and just have a look at the buy box and the FBA price. You can see that most of the time the buy box is lower than FBA sellers. So let's look at all time. So you've got FBA sellers coming on the listing about here, and most of the time the FBA price is higher than the Amazon price. So this is a good deal if I can buy it at that crazy low price and have that much margin in my deal, because I can afford to sell it for a similar price to Amazon. Now, if however I was only able to buy this at say £20, then I'd analyse that, and you can see BuyBotPro is now saying it's really not sure that's a good deal now. It's a below average deal because of the fact that now you've got a lot less profit in it. You're still at a stage where you've got not $39.99 as a sell price. So you're still at a stage where, let's put Amazon back on and we can have a look at what they're selling it at. So they're around £40-ish, something, £48, £45, something around there. They drop occasionally very low down to $28.99. But most of the time, Amazon are around the £40 mark, so £45 mark. So if I could sell that at $39.99 and still have a good profit and a good ROI, then I may well decide to give it a go. But as I say, you need to be buying it very cheap to enable that to be a great deal, as BuyBotPro is telling you here. So these charts, when you're looking at those as a new seller, are really important. So it's a good idea to always keep an eye on the new offer count. So this tells you the sellers and how many sellers there are. And obviously they're here, you've got all that information. The green line is the BSR, so how quickly a product is selling. And obviously then you've got the buy box, which is the point of sale, if you like, the price of sale. And then you've got your FBA price up here. So the FBA sellers that are on this listing You know, they've got some at 49.85, but some of them are a fair bit higher. So as long as I could be competitive with Amazon, and there were some people that will tell you they'll never get on the listing if Amazon's on a listing. It's a different, you know, different people have different attitudes in terms of getting on a listing when Amazon's on the listing. But for me personally, if I can be competitive, then I would, compete with Amazon. As long as I could be competitive in price and I had enough profit in the deal to allow me to, make sure I can get that lower price. So that's how I would analyse it. That's how I would analyse this deal. I wouldn't buy a lot of them, but I would potentially buy a few. Obviously not if I had to pay £20 for them. And quite honestly, you're probably not going to get it lower than £20 anywhere anyway. So I bet if you found this deal in a shop or something, it's probably going to be at like £25. And then it wouldn't meet your criteria because the profit's too low, the ROI is too low, everything's too low when you take into account a slightly higher buy price, because then you can be less competitive with Amazon because you've got to be able to meet their price as well. So that is how I would look at a deal like that. So that was a great example where Amazon's really quite dominant on the listing and the approach that I would take. But as I say, there's many people that would just not get involved because Amazon's quite so dominant. I would get involved, I would compete with Amazon, but only if I could do so at their sort of level of price, and definitely not if I was buying it anywhere near there. So keep a very close eye on the BuyBotPro confidence score, because it's a really, really good way of knowing instantly whether a deal is worth your consideration further. And if you hover over it, Amazon will, it will tell you, BuyBotPro will tell you what's going on Amazon. So it will tell you the top 3 reasons. BuyBotPro's got thousands of reasons why it scores a deal as it does. But that gives you the top 3 reasons. So if you're new to online arbitrage, I would absolutely make sure you're using BuyBotPro to analyse your deals, so it can help make sure you're not making mistakes and buying deals where you won't make any money.